Welcome to Alan Skorsky Reports. I'm Alan Skorsky. We are recording this episode one day after the release of the hostages and the day of President Trump's inauguration. The three hostages released were Romi Gonen, Emily Damari, who had 2 fingers shot off when she was kidnapped, and Doron Steinbrecher. For over 450 days, the Jewish people have lived with trauma and emotional distress as we watched our people slaughtered on October 7th, and then watched videos of Hamas savages dragging innocent civilians back to Gaza as hostages and bargaining chips. During this period, we saw the Biden administration utterly useless in helping Israel get the hostages back, and at times, through his careless words, empowered Hamas to take an even harsher negotiating position. This past November, following the Trump victory, President Trump gave several harsh ultimatums to Hamas that if the hostages were not returned by his inauguration, there would be hell to pay. So here we are on Inauguration Day, and Hamas has released 3 hostages, with the rest of the hostages to be released over a 6-week period in exchange for over 1,000 convicted terrorists, many of whom have life sentences. Throughout social media and many professional pundits, there were varying opinions ranging from gratitude that hostages are being released to despair because Israel will once again be seen as capitulating to Hamas and once again releasing murderers back to their homes. Some people are calling Bibi weak, as members of his coalition have tendered their resignations, while others are blaming Donald Trump for allegedly pressing Bibi to accept a deal. With us today to discuss not only the varying emotions, but the varying options that Israel either had or the ultimatums given them is former Assemblyman and founder of Americans Against Anti-Semitism, Dov Hikind. Dov, thank you for coming back during these very stressful days. Before we delve into what happened and what could happen next, I want to ask you about a recent video that you posted on X regarding the hostage deal. It was about a 4-minute video. You spoke about, we all know it's a terrible deal, but if this was one of our children, how would we react? What should Israel be doing? What Israel should have been doing 15 months ago, but, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, look, that video also, addressed the fact that all reports indicate that there was pressure on Bibi Netanyahu. Not Biden, not Obama. It was Donald Trump pressuring Bibi to make a deal. Look, we're all very, very happy to have the Trump administration with all the amazing people that have been chosen by Donald Trump. We hope it's going to be dramatically different for America, for the Jewish people, for all democracies in the world. But I just don't understand why Donald Trump would pressure the Prime Minister of Israel when I would think that the Prime Minister of Israel cares about the hostages as much as Donald Trump cares about the hostages. So I just don't understand that pressure. And, 3 people have been released as of today, the 20th of January, 3. It was supposed to be all of them by the time he becomes president. So I'm just very, very confused by what is going on. A lot of people are. I got to tell you, when I arrived in Shul on Friday night, this past Friday, every person there, they're talking to me as if, they think I have an inside information, trying to understand what happened here. And they're upset. Most people are upset. And everybody's trying to come up with something, he promised Bibi this and he promised Bibi that. The point is, we are thrilled that hostages are being released. No question about that. But at the same time, it is the guarantee of future, in the future, that Jews will be murdered by those who are being released. And I say that because the head of the Shin Bet on Friday said that 83% of those who were released in the Shalit deal, let me remind everyone, over 1,000 terrorists were released for an Israeli soldier including Sinwar, the guy who planned October 7th. And he said that 84% go back to terrorism. So we're very, very happy. Of course, how can we not be? It is very, very emotional, very, very powerful, my God. But at the same time, when you negotiate with terrorism, when you give in to terrorists the way this just is going down, that is a guarantee for future victims, people being kidnapped and future deals being made. That only who's going to be the next casualty, Alan? I mean, maybe when I'm in Israel, I'll be the casualty. Maybe it'll be you, maybe someone you know in Israel, a friend, a relative. And just think of the people who had loved ones murdered by some of those who are being released. Can you imagine that feeling? Oh my God. Ari Fuld, who was stabbed to death in Gush Etzion by a 17-year-old.
Right.
And after he was stabbed, the terrorist was going to kill someone else, and Ari Fuld managed to shoot the guy. That 17-year-old is being released back into the population. I mean, it is insane, insane. Look, if it was my family member that was being held, I'd do everything in the world, of course. But you know what? Leaders are supposed to make decisions based on what's good for the country, and that's not an easy thing to do. Right. That's not an easy thing to do. But the bottom line is this, Alan. No one should celebrate this as a great event, a wonderful event. We just made a deal with the monsters of the world who are committing, and believe them, by the way, believe them, that they will do October 7th again and again and again. And anyone who says, oh, it'll never happen again. Did anyone expect that the last October 7th of 2023, is it?
Right.
That was going to happen? Was that possible? That thousands, everyone should become familiar with what happened on October 7th. There's so many books available. The more I read about those events, and as you know, I was there a couple of days after October 7th in Kfar Aza, State Road, et cetera, et cetera. But the more I read, the more I'm in shock that it could happen.
So it's funny, you mentioned Ari Fuld. I was just in touch with his brother the other day because he put out an entire post. Like you expressed, we're thrilled for those who have been released, but the guy who killed my brother is going to be going out. I spoke with another friend named Yigal Dilmoni. He served in Gaza. He's also the head of American Friends of Judea and Samaria. And he said that some of the terrorists being released who have life sentences are going back to their homes next to his yishuv. Alan Dershowitz wrote a whole column that this is not a deal. This is extortion. And he said until the world stops negotiating with terrorists, this will keep happening. And that's the problem. Israel used to have a policy of no negotiations with terrorists.
Right. Alan, let me just point out that while the U.S., both Biden and Trump were pressing Netanyahu, America would never do the same thing. We really have a policy of not negotiating with terrorists. Would we release members of Al-Qaeda? Would we release people like that if they were being held in American prisons, convicted in American courts? Would we release
I don't know.
mass murderers? No, it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Right. But unfortunately, look, and again, as I said, it's easy for me to, say what I'm saying, but I truly believe that the only way to deal with this is to say no. And with Trump being the president, he was supposed to, and I'm sure he will. He'll be great. Let me say to everybody also that we're thrilled with Donald Trump. Thank God we got rid of the crap in the White House. The people that undermined Israel, that wouldn't let Israel win over the past year. The Biden administration, they tied Israel's hands. This would have been over a long time ago. Thank God we got rid of them. But I'm alerting everyone out there, only trust in God. God does not make mistakes. Anyone else, don't put your faith in them. They're not, nobody is the Mashiach. No one is the Messiah. We have faith in Hashem, and we need to, and I give Alan Dershowitz tremendous credit because a lot of people are not saying anything. They're being pretty quiet, because it's Donald Trump. But I just don't get it. I just don't understand what exactly happened here. Why Whitcuff, oh my God, what a great job they did. What? Listen, it had to happen. It had to happen. But this is not anything to celebrate in terms of the deal. Right. Seeing our hostages coming back, but nobody be excited. This was not a great deal. This is not the kind of great deals that Donald Trump is famous for.
Okay. So what's interesting about this is because I was waiting to see who would be taking a victory lap over this. And Joe Biden, in typical clueless fashion, he's bragging about the deal he pulled off because he put this in motion last May. Donald Trump put out tweets, whatever that, that he got a deal done. Look, from my perspective, again, I can only speculate. And I spoke to a friend who was friends with Yoram Ettinger, a former Israeli.
I know him. Okay. Great guy.
And he is saying that we should not listen to what's being said in the media. Okay, we'll see. I don't know. Tom Cotton came out. Listen, many of those said that the deal should have been release every hostage now. We'll let you escape. We will give you safe passage out of Gaza, like Israel let the PLO out. I think from Lebanon when I think were all banished to Tunisia or Sudan. You can go somewhere else. That's the only deal. It didn't happen.
Alan, if it's about saving lives long term,
right,
then you don't negotiate with monsters. You don't, if that's what the goal is.
Right.
And it's not an easy thing to do. Majority of the people of Israel support the deal. They want to see, their brothers and sisters coming back home. Everyone is a parent. You imagine it's your daughter. I mean, who did not cry yesterday? Who did not shed tears yesterday seeing those 3 young women being returned to their families? It was powerful. It was magnificent. But let's just keep in mind the reality of who we are dealing with. And let's think of the families of the murderers that are being released. And Alan, who are the future victims? The head, as I said before, head of Shin Bet, 84% of the Shalit deal terrorists committed acts of terror. They went back. Does anyone think for one second that the murderers being released now, that they're waiting for Yom Kippur to do atonement?
Right.
Just the opposite. They will be more determined because we got to understand who we're dealing with. This is, and by the way, it's not just Hamas. You saw the population, the regular people in Gaza, with everything that has happened. I mean, they were celebrating Hamas. Those are their heroes, for God's sake.
Right. So now there are a few things, and this is also, how did we get to this point? So one of the things that I've said is Israel has the Iron Dome, but what Hamas has is Amnesty International, the Red Cross, World's Kitchen, Doctors Without Borders. Those are their Iron Domes because they have normalized them. And I say any group that is operating in Gaza, they are operating in a war zone with the specific intention of protecting Hamas. You don't go to a war zone and you don't operate in an area that is controlled and dominated by some of the worst terrorists in the world when 75% of those people are supporting them. So they are there and they have been there to normalize them. In this country, we have failed. As American Jewish groups, we have failed to define what Hamas is. Yes, Biden and Harris can say that they're bad people, and they've said that before. I remember when Barack Obama was president and said that Israel's operating in a bad neighborhood. Okay, no, Harlem, parts of Harlem are bad neighborhoods. Israel is not operating in a bad neighborhood. They are the buffer for the West. of the most dangerous area in the world. And that's never emphasized enough. It's made that Hamas is bad, but Israel could have eased things by going forward with a two-state solution, which Biden kept talking about over and over again. And even now, after the deal was made, in his letter saying that his plan is being implemented, now is the time to work harder for a two-state solution.
Listen, you and I know the Democrats, they're a lost cause, at least for now, and I think for a pretty long time. They can't see the reality. They can't, on many different levels, by the way. They don't even understand, why they lost this election in such a big way. They just don't get it. They don't want to face the reality. Two-state solution. I mean, it's. By the way, Hamas is more popular in Judea and Samaria, in the so-called West Bank, than they are in Gaza. That's the reality, for God's sake. You and I want peace. Everybody wants peace. The people of Israel want peace. But I think the people of Israel recognize, after all the attempts were made way back, that you can't have peace with yourself. You need a partner. And the reality is, you can pretend, you can make believe, but there is no one Mahmoud Abbas,
right,
who doesn't believe the Jewish people have a right to Jerusalem. He has said it publicly, that the Western Wall, that it's all a lie. The Jews have no connection. This is the guy that you want to deal with and make peace with. You got to be kidding me, for God's sake. So, the Democratic Party, with two-state solution, it's like, you just repeat it. You don't think, by the way, just repeat it again and again, and it'll be a reality. It will never happen, because there is no one to talk to. The Jewish people, they're the good guys. Israel was prepared to make concessions, not just the government in the past, right, but the people of Israel. In polling, I remember so often Jews were ready to give up land for peace. But we know what happened. When we were making so-called peace with Yasser Arafat, with Rabin, okay, and a couple of people won Nobel Peace Prizes for that, Shimon Peres, Rabin, etc., right? It was the worst time for Jews. More Jews were murdered during that period of the so-called peace prize. Have we forgotten about the buses blowing up?
Right.
Have we forgotten about the restaurants where bombs were planted? Have we forgotten all the horrors committed during that period of peace with Yasser Arafat? It was a farce. It was a joke. And the people of Israel, and they get it. They understand. But you made a very, very important point that I just want to emphasize. We're looking for solutions. We're looking, as I said, for the Messiah in Trump and other people. They're going to, oh my God, they're so wonderful. Alan, we have failed. Jewish organizations have failed to really do the job that needs to be done. Our enemies are winning. They're in the streets, from the river to the sea, with the slogans that have become part of the vocabulary in America. I mentioned to you before we started the show, there's a new poll out today from Harris that indicates, this is mind-boggling, 21% of Americans, we're not just talking about students now, 21% of Americans, you got to hear this, they support the monsters, the Nazis of 2025, Hamas. They support Hamas. And what's even more interesting, when I saw the poll, I said, yeah, that must be the Democrats. Yeah, Democrats, 25% of Democrats support the monsters. But listen to this, 19% of Republicans support Hamas. Is something wrong? Have we done our job? We have so many freaking Jewish organizations. They're all over the place with budgets that run into the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
They have failed miserably, miserably.
because they spend all their time fundraising, and they send out emails, because I'm on all their email lists, condemning anti-Semitism, condemning, white supremacy. There is no focus on care. There is no focus on all the mosques in America. Memory puts out these videos all the time, quoting imams in America chanting "Death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews." It's not a Zionist thing, it's a Jewish thing.
Right.
And there is nobody who is taking this to the White House. Nobody's taking this to the media. It's like Memory is another organization. They do fantastic work, but there is no one that is using their work to advance it. So what happens? People watch for 15 months on the news. Gaza looks like a hellhole. I mean, they've gotten the crap beaten out of them, but there is no context that our hostages are being held. I guarantee you ask 100 people who Kfir Bibas is, they won't know who it is. They can't name the names of the hostages because we failed in keeping their names, on the forefront. When Americans were putting their posters in Manhattan, everywhere else, they got torn down. And there was no outcry about this. So Hamas has been humanized again and normalized. You've got the ICC going after the leaders of Israel. You've got the Biden administration and Chuck Schumer trying to oust Bibi Netanyahu. No one knows. So people know who Israel is. They know who our leaders are, but they don't even know. You and I know who Sinwar is. How many people do you think know who Hamas is or what they represent? Hamas puts out videos saying that there will be another October 7th and October 7th.
Yeah.
No one knows it.
Alan, where's our side? That's my point.
Yeah.
We're accused of being very smart. We're accused of being very successful. I'll accept all of those designations and more. But where's our side to use the same media to produce the most powerful, the most meaningful videos, etc., on social media? There's so much that can be done, but the Jewish organizations, unfortunately, there is no plan. October 7th changed everything.
Right.
Did anything change at the Jewish organizations? Do they have a specific plan on how to deal with what's going on? Trump will take care of things. And by the way, I think with the amazing people that have been chosen by Donald Trump, truly amazing people, I think we're going to see a lot of good things happen. But that does not absolve us, Alan, from doing our part, which we have failed. We have failed. Let's get that clear. We have failed. So, yeah, good things are going to happen. No question. Look, one of the executive orders from Donald Trump is going to hopefully remove every single dollar we give to UNRWA.
Correct.
United Nations Relief Work.
Right.
I mean, this was ridiculous. Those guys are part of Hamas, for God's sake. And we're giving them money, hundreds of millions of dollars. There are so many other things that are about to happen with the ICC, etc. And that is wonderful. And that is great. Look, our new Secretary of State, soon to be, Rubio, my God.
Right.
We know who these people are. We know the new ambassador to Israel. We know the national security people. These people are, let me tell you something. None of them are Jews.
Right.
I pick them over any Jew that I know.
Yep. No, absolutely. And Mike Walls also, issued a statement that this is going to be a very pro-Israel administration. What I suspect, again, it's just me thinking here, is that Trump made the ultimatum, and now he needed a win. He needed to save face. That's what I'm thinking. And he told Wickoff, said, tell Bibi he's got to make some kind of deal, whatever it is it's going to be, because there was never going to be a good deal. Take the crappy deal now, and once I'm in, then we can go further. Maybe. We won't know until we know.
Alan, we're both going to find out, and everyone else.
So
we will find out whether this was just a moment, whatever. Look, Donald Trump just appointed 3 people to represent him in Hollywood. You probably saw that.
Yeah, John Boyd.
One of them.
Yeah, is Mel
One
Gibson.
of them, for God's sake, is Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
If if the Democrats had done the same thing, you and I and everyone else would be yelling, Mel Gibson?
Right.
You couldn't find anyone else?
Right. So again, I see John Voight and Sylvester Stallone, so I'm like,
Oh, he's great.
oi,
Those guys are great. Of
right.
course, of course, of
So
course.
let me ask you a question. Right now, here's the scenario. This is where we are today. What will be, we'll see. What we are told now is that the remaining hostages are being surrounded by suicide bombers. If there are any attempts to rescue the hostages, they're going to blow themselves up. So there are no more Entebbe rescues in the offing. Does Israel have any choice at this point? Either say, you know what, we love the hostages, but we're done, or they're going to have to suck it up, and they suck it up for the last time. I don't know, but at this point, see, there is no deal that can ever be celebrated. It's only unless Trump threatens Qatar and Iran, unless he goes through the back door and they get released. But other than something major that's strategic, this is what's going to happen.
Look, what you're presenting is, look, it's a real challenge, and you and I, and we don't know precisely what is going on. I think we're all surprised that Israel was not able to get free more of the hostages on their own. You know, look what they accomplished against Iran.
Yeah.
Look what they accomplished in Lebanon. Look at what they did in Syria. I mean, the brilliance. You know, when you watch even 60 Minutes, everyone in the world was blown away by the kind of sophistication, the kind of things that Israel was able to do. You and I are scratching our heads. How do they know where every bad guy is?
Right.
And they go after them and they get rid of them.
Right.
But the hostages, I don't know what the story is. I don't know what the story is. I do know this, that the more murderers we release, the more new victims there are going to be. So if you say to me, look, it's okay, we got to think about today, not about tomorrow, leaders have to think about tomorrow.
Right.
You and I don't.
Right. And there were a number of Israelis, because you mentioned earlier that a lot of Israelis support the deal. There have been a number said, I think I even read that families of the hostages said, don't make the deal. Don't make the deal for our loved ones. Again, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of.
Oh my God, that is amazing. Yeah. Yes. Look, families of soldiers, people who have lost their loved ones in the army. Right. And as you pointed out, can you imagine a family of a hostage saying, we love our son and daughter as much as anyone, right, but don't make a deal that will result in someone else's son and daughter being murdered down the line. Right. And that is almost a guarantee. So let me tell you, that is incredible, incredible courage. Look, Netanyahu, now you have Trump. Let's hope, and with God's help, let's not forget about God. He is the most important ingredient in this picture. Correct. We have to have faith in Hashem. It's not to look at it's this one, it's that one. Always with God's help. Hopefully they will find a way to deal with the rest, because it's not a pretty picture what's coming up in the coming weeks and months and so on. And as I said before, it's about being a leader. A leader has to think about the whole picture. Right. A mother and a father, they think about their daughter, their son, their mother, their father. I get it. I understand that. Right. But a leader thinks of every mother, father, and child. Right.
Dov, again, I want to thank you so much during these very trying times. And I said, again, listen, I belong to a few shuls in my community. Every day I'm leading Tehillim and Mishaberachs after diving for the hostages. So this has been a part of me since October 7th. Yeah. And again, it's affected all of us. And for me, it's easy because I'm not in Israel. It's easier for me. And I see how, what's done to me. And the people of Israel will need trauma therapy and God knows what else for a long time to come, because there isn't a person there who hasn't been affected one way or another.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you gotta close your eyes and really feel that pain and that challenge and that difficulty. Uh, these have been incredibly hard times for the Jewish people. But Alan, if you study, if one studies their Jewish history,
Yeah,
and I mean without exception, we go through this all the time. There's
right,
no period in Jewish history that we're not faced with these difficulties. And I'm not just talking about the Holocaust. I'm talking about I'm talking about before the Holocaust, 10 years before, 20 years, 30 years, 500 years, 1,000 years, you know. But the good news is, Ellen, with all the difficulty, all the challenges, as you know, we shouldn't be here.
right,
You and I should not be Jew to Jew talking. No Jews anymore. You
right,
know what? We're here and we're not going anywhere. And we're proud. And there's nothing like being a member of the Jewish tribe, the
right.
Jewish people.
Dov, again, I thank you so much for your time. God bless you, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Always a pleasure, Alan. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.